Coming to you from Charleston, South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Joey.
And I'm Mason, and this is TBD SportsCast,
where we determine the most important sports topics of this weekend.
On this episode, we're going to be talking about a huge game from last week, Mullets versus Mormons. We're going to be talking about our game of the week, some huge news in college football, a little bit of the playoff rankings, our top 25 matchups, and finally ending with some NFL. But before we jump into that, we just got to talk about how much this podcast has meant to us.
I just want to say thank you for all the support. It's really great to be able to do something that I love and enjoy so much, and to be able to do it with one of my best friends here. It just makes it so incredible, and I thank you all for the support and the listening and all that.
Yeah, and to everybody who's shared our podcast, listened to it every week, followed us on Instagram, all these different things. Thank you so much. Can't believe we're already on episode 6. We're really looking forward to next week when we do our college football awards. And if you haven't voted on that, links in our bio on our Instagram. It's on Facebook. Go check it out, and let's go ahead and get into it. Mullets versus Mormons. The CCU Chanticleers would go on to 10-0 undefeated, and the BYU Cougars would go on to 9-1. So last week, this wasn't even our game of the week. It originally was CCU versus Liberty, and that was going to be a huge game earlier in the season, and we were really disappointed because we were going to go into this game with the Chanticleers undefeated and the Liberty Flames, now still at a winning record with 1 loss. But then the Liberty game got canceled, so we took it out of the podcast. Then after the podcast was edited and aired, we get this update that BYU is traveling to Conway to play CCU. Mm-hmm. And we were like, that's going to be a huge matchup. We finally have the undefeated matchup that we've been wanting all season. And it was a great game nonetheless. And
just to let y'all know, when big updates come up after we have recorded our podcast, so we record our podcasts on Wednesdays, mostly Wednesday nights. A lot of the updates come Thursday, Friday sometimes. So if you want to keep up with the late updates after our podcast, go check out our Instagram on our stories. Mostly I post about them, but I'm trying to get him onto it. But yeah, Coastal versus BYU, one of those matchups where we didn't know we needed it, but we knew we wanted it. And it happened such last second, and it did not disappoint at all. Amazing matchup, and this matchup really decided who could still have a chance at the playoffs. Now BYU start going into that game with a 24% chance of going into the playoffs. I highly doubt it's that high anymore. I haven't seen the numbers yet, but I think Coastal's numbers should be pretty high now. Maybe not higher than Georgia's though. But this game was absolutely incredible. It honestly did come down to whose defense could step up. Now, both offenses were kind of lackluster compared to how they normally play, but I really think that's because of these are two great teams facing off against each other compared to who they normally face off against, who are a little underperforming. So, I think this was a great matchup and a great win for Coastal. What do you think?
Well, I thought it was a great matchup as well. And going back to what you were saying about how this isn't the game that we didn't know we want, but we needed. And this is the first game all season that's been played out of conference. This is the first non-conference game because it was Mountain and Sunbelt.
Yeah.
So, but no, I watched the whole game. It was a great matchup. Really game of the defenses. The Coastal defense stepped up. The BYU defense stepped up. And, it was a lot of mistakes and just some really unnecessary, personal fouls on both sides. Especially, when Coastal, tackled Zach Wilson after
throwing an interception. Yeah, it was really weird because, and the commentators even said something about it. It would be incredible if, because of this game that came out of nowhere, started a new rivalry between the two teams where they match up now every year, and there's a rivalry that is there. That would be absolutely incredible. It was a very intense game, and it was weird because they didn't even know they were facing off against each other, so it's pretty insane.
Yeah, either way, great matchup. I called Coastal Carolina. I know you called Coastal Carolina.
But you called them for the Liberty game. I went on Instagram, like I said, and chose them for the BYU game. I even said it was going to be a close game, and they didn't fail to disappoint.
Those last couple plays, BYU's driving down the field. There's like 10 seconds left, and I mean, he is 1 yard short.
Yeah,
of the goal line, and Coastal Carolina wins the game. That was probably the craziest moment of that entire game.
Being from the Low Country, I mean, my heart was beating fast. I was so nervous. I was like, they're running down the field. They're going crazy. The BYU offense showed up then on that drive, but it was just too late, and time ran out, and Coastal's defense showed up, which was really needed.
Yeah, and it was definitely the game of the week. I mean, a lot of the other games were good, but I mean, not really. I mean, it was a lot of blowouts. Clemson, Virginia Tech, Alabama, LSU. This game
Ohio
was a game,
State, Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game that went down to the wire and was so much fun to watch.
And I mean, although I still don't like Coastal's field, like their color, the color of the field, the turf, those uniforms for both teams were just so nice.
Yeah,
like
you being the uniform
slick.
guy,
yeah, me being for those who don't know, I'm big on uniforms. Like if it looks good, it looks good. Like I will choose a team because they look good. I'm one of those kind of guys sometimes, but those uniforms looked amazing, and I'm so excited for Coastal.
Yeah, definitely. Great game all around. But another great game all around coming into this week, our game of the week, UNC versus number 10 Miami. This is going to be a great game. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a really good matchup. But you being the ACC guy, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. What do you think?
So with these two teams, I mean, Miami just missing out of the ACC championship. They really needed Clemson to lose a second game or Notre Dame to really lose to Clemson and some other team. But I mean, it's a battle of offenses again. Now, Miami has a better defense. You look at a lot of the teams that they've both played, the same teams. Miami has beat them just like North Carolina has, minus Virginia and Florida State. But you notice the scores are so much closer with Miami and a lot lower. So North Carolina scores normally go up to 50s, high 50s, stuff like that. Meanwhile, Miami's averaging around the 20s. So when it comes down to it, you're looking at two teams who really like to throw the ball. Miami has a very mobile quarterback, and North Carolina has shown that they struggle with that. So I honestly think Miami will win this game, but it really depends on if D'Eriq King will get the play calls and will be chosen to run the ball, because North Carolina has shown that they can't defend against it.
Yeah, and I mean, Miami's coming off a huge 48-0 win over Duke.
I mean, it's Duke, though.
I mean, yeah, and I was about to say the same thing about UNC coming off, their like 48-3 win against
49-9. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, whatever. I can't believe they got 3 field goals.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, I think that Miami definitely comes out with this. They have an impressive win over Virginia Tech, and that was a close game. And I think that, with that win over Duke, even though Duke, probably is a little cupcake, I think that it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a huge offensive matchup, like you were saying. But with Miami having the better defense over North Carolina, I'd say that Miami comes out on top with this one.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close matchup. But it's just one of those things where I want North Carolina to win. Ever since they got Mac Brown as their new head coach at North Carolina, I've honestly been rooting for them because, I mean, they're the underdog team, and this year they really showed that they're a good team. They just have some things to work on, but with their struggles against mobile quarterbacks, it's just one of those things that Miami has that North Carolina can't defend yet, or at least they've shown that they can't defend it, so that's why I choose Miami.
So moving on from that into some huge news in college football. At the University of South Carolina, they have officially found a head coach.
Yeah, I don't really agree with this one. I mean, I saw it coming, but I mean, South Carolina hires Shane Beamer, Frank Beamer's son. Now,
From Oklahoma.
From Oklahoma. Now, Shane Beamer has been looked at by many teams for the head coaching job. But there's a reason he never got any of them, you know? And I mean, Frank Beamer, legendary coach at Virginia Tech. Don't get me wrong. I think he was one of the best coaches to ever coach at Virginia Tech. But towards the end of his career, he was struggling to win games, all that stuff. And Shane Beamer is nothing like his father, I don't think. He's a very offensive-minded person, nowhere close to defensive-minded. So I hope South Carolina is prepared to lose a lot of defensive battles.
Yeah, I disagree with that too. I'm afraid that we're gonna have another Muschamp situation at the University of South Carolina,
But flipped.
Yeah. I really think they should have hired Freeze or Napier. I mean, I think that either one of them would have been better. I don't know about Shane Beamer. All aboard the Shane train, I guess. I've been hearing that a lot, but I really don't think that was the right decision.
I really don't think so either, but it was probably the cheaper decision for them. So, I mean, because they have to buy out Muschamp, so they don't want to spend a bunch of money on a new coaching contract, you know? Mm-hmm. And, I mean, Hugh Freeze, so successful at Liberty right now. I don't see why they wouldn't choose him. It's really disappointing. And, I mean, I'm a Clemson fan, and I'm saying it's very disappointing to see South Carolina hire Shane Beamer. Now, if he shows up and becomes this great a great head coach, then that's fantastic, you know. All luck to him. But I just don't think that was the right decision.
And even speaking to you just for a second about a completely kind of different topic, but even as a Clemson fan, like, you want to beat South Carolina, but you don't want it to be like a complete smackdown every year.
I mean, the past few years, like, it's
gotten to have gotten boring at some point.
No, it's gone from one of those games that you always look forward to, and you look forward to talking trash because, like, it's a good game, you know?
Yeah, any team could take it.
Yeah, but, like, recently it's just been one of those things nowadays where South Carolina fans are just like, yeah, whatever, we suck. And it's just like, it doesn't make it fun. And, you know, sometimes I don't even, like, last year, I didn't even mind missing the game. Like, I didn't even watch it. Like, it was so depressing that, you know, so, I mean, I don't know.
And I think as football fans, like, we don't want to see blowouts. I mean, like, it's something about watching a good game that, you know, you get it, especially when it's your team and it's a good game. And, I mean, it gets down into your gut and you're like, oh, my gosh, what's going to happen? Like, it's kind of a scary feeling. Yeah. It's that feeling of adrenaline that's like, oh, my gosh, like, this could be a great game. Like, my team could win. This could be a huge thing. Like, an example of that game, like, for me was, you know, the Rose Bowl when it was Georgia versus Oklahoma in 2017. Mm-hmm. That was a huge game for me. That was honestly the game that made me fall in love with football.
Yeah.
And I mean, I swear, I still like watch that game, the highlights from that game, like probably once a year because I love that game. Another game, like, you know, for Alabama LSU fans. I mean, Alabama didn't come out on top, but the Alabama LSU game from 2019 was a huge game.
Yeah. Or the Clemson versus Alabama in 2016, where Deshaun Watson throws it to Hunter Renfrow with 1 second left on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to win the game. Like, those are great games. And it's not necessarily that I don't like blowouts. I love to see Clemson show up the other team, but it's also one of those things where I get tired of seeing the second and third stringers. I enjoy seeing Trevor, Travis, Skalski, you know, Amari Rogers, all of them out there. And when I see the second and third stringers, it's kind of like, okay, well, we're going to give up plays that we shouldn't. And, you know, so it's just one of those things where it's kind of upsetting, but I don't know. I like watching football no matter what, but it's just boring watching the South Carolina Clemson game nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of some good games, definitely had some upset alerts from the past weekend. Oregon upset by Cal. I know I picked Oregon to win that. You picked Cal. But, I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it was coming. I mean, Oregon's offense has not been an Oregon offense. Without Justin Herbert, they've shown that the quarterback position is kind of lackluster. They're not as fluent as they used to be. Oregon is usually a very mobile team. Their quarterback's normally mobile, but yet he still has a great arm. You got Justin Herbert, Marcus Mariota as two prime examples of that. And just, I don't know, it's just not the same Oregon team that they used to be. And I really saw this coming because, like I said in the last episode, California has a history of beating Oregon, upsetting Oregon and stuff. I mean, every time I seem to watch the game, California wins the game. California is a great team, nothing against them, but I definitely don't think that this is a normal Oregon team, and I think they really need to figure out their offense and their defense, really. Their defense is atrocious, which, I mean, it is no surprise, but their offense is a big shock because they're known for their offense. They're known for their other than their uniforms, they're known for their offense, their mobility and all that, and the trick plays, and it just seems like nothing's adding up for them.
Yeah, definitely. So the next upset. So last week I remember saying this in the podcast, word for word. I was like, I don't even really know who Rice is. There's no way they're gonna upset Marshall. And Rice beat Marshall 21-0. And you also called that, Joey. I don't know how.
I called it, but I didn't pick it.
Yeah.
I was saying, I was bringing up how Rice was giving Johnny Manziel a hard time when Texas A&M was going through their run. They beat Alabama that year, and all of a sudden Texas A&M is struggling against this unranked Rice team who I think had one win that season. But, yeah, I was talking about it. I was saying how Rice was a competitive team. They may not be the most known team, but you definitely shouldn't sleep on them. They're one of those trap teams like Michigan State is. They're not the best team, but if you don't study the film correctly, they will tear you apart. And, Rice showed up this game, showed Marshall who was boss. It was 20-0. Marshall's offense didn't show up. Their defense was there for a portion of it, but Rice ran all over them.
Yeah, definitely. So, Will, I hope everybody is ready to talk about some playoffs because we're about to get into it. So,
all right. So, the top six stayed the same within the college football playoff rankings. But I'm not gonna lie here. I got some beef with Ohio State. I got some beef against the Big Ten. This is ridiculous. This rule has been set in place for years. And now I understand we're in different circumstances and different times where we have this pandemic going on, and it's hard to hit 6 games with all these cancellations and such. But with the Big Ten doing this, they are doing this to accommodate one team and one team only. You're looking at this and you're saying right now, there's no way Northwestern's going to beat Ohio State. They're a decent team, but they're not a great team. Ohio State could lose it. Don't get me wrong. They have not been the normal Ohio State that they have been in years past.
Almost losing to Rutgers and Indiana.
Yeah. But there should be no scenario where Ohio State loses this game. What disappoints me is this rule was set in place for years. And again, because of the pandemic, I can understand it. But they're accommodating for one team and one team only.
And again, my point from earlier season, Ohio State gets by on their name so much.
Exactly. If Ohio State was losing, right, they had a losing record, there was no chance of playoffs. If any team in the Big Ten had no chance of playoffs, the Big Ten would not do this.
Nope.
There's no chance the Big Ten would do this. They're doing this so they have a playoff team. And what I say to that is, honestly, whatever. I don't like it, but if Florida beats Alabama, I think that Ohio State loses every right of playoff.
Agreed.
I think Florida versus Alabama, Florida beating Alabama, should top Ohio State beating Northwestern, who lost to Michigan State. Strength of schedule plays big in this, and conference champion. And when you're a conference champion, sure, Ohio State can win, but their schedule compared to Florida's, especially now with Missouri being ranked, there should be no way that Ohio State should be in this playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been talking about my main points all year about Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State came in late because the Big Ten, and that's something else too. The Big Ten tried to bully all of the other conferences to not do football.
Yeah.
And then when nobody agreed with them, we're like, now we want to play football.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear it from them, first of all. But my other point is that they've only played 5 games. They've only been in this thing for 5 weeks. Other teams have been in it for, basically since the beginning.
Going on 10, yeah. Going on 11.
Yeah, no, we're on week 15.
Yeah.
So some teams have literally been playing for 15 weeks. They've been playing for 5.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Or 6, it's about 6 or 7. Or Ohio State has only played 5 games.
Yeah.
So they've only played 5 games. Their strength of schedule is crap.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a friend earlier. He was saying, but yeah, that should tell you something that we're still in the playoffs. Like we're still in the top 4, because we're Ohio State. And I was like, that proves my point.
Because
you're getting
Ohio
by
State.
on your name. That's not good. Like, let your team speak for itself. And this year they haven't. Yeah, sure, COVID, whatever. But like Justin Fields and Olave can't carry a whole team.
And even then, in the Indiana game, Justin Fields showed that he couldn't carry the whole entire Ohio State team. He had a terrible performance, and it really showed. And they really tried hyping him up after that Michigan State game. And you know what? I didn't agree with it. Guess what? Like the play where he made a block for his receiver. You want to really know what that is? That's stupidity. You're risking yourself getting hurt, your team losing their star quarterback, and losing the rest of their season.
Justin Fields is still young. Don't get me wrong, he's a great quarterback, but he's still making immature decisions. Like he still has some learning and growing to do as a quarterback.
I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. He's a great quarterback, but Ohio State doesn't belong in the playoffs. That's what I'm going to say. Justin Fields is a great quarterback. He's going to go high in the draft. Olave, great wide receiver. He's not going to be the only reason that he can't be the only reason that Ohio State goes into the playoffs. They have to be chosen because of their skills overall. And Florida has shown that they overall are better than Ohio State. And I've heard talks, it's more like rumor of Ohio State versus Texas A&M for this weekend. Although I don't think it's possible. I think it would be a great matchup.
Because I would totally pick Texas A&M.
I would pick Texas A&M. Yeah, exactly, because Texas A&M has a defense and they have an offense. They're actually a good team that Ohio State has yet to face against. And I think that Ohio State would be shown up. And I think that, if Ohio State were to somehow make it into the playoffs, if they face Clemson again,
they're going to lose.
They're going to be Cryo State again. Yeah, they're just going to complain.
Yeah.
Oh, the refs were on their side. No, because y'all are not a playoff team.
Not yet. I think they have the ability to, but
they have
so much building to do still.
Exactly. And I'm not going to go into last season. That is past.
Yeah. So something else that we disagreed on again. Iowa State has made the jump to number 7 in the CFP rankings over number 8 Cincinnati and now number 9 Georgia. I disagree with this. For a couple of reasons. I don't believe that Iowa State is a better team than Cincinnati or Georgia. Cincinnati is undefeated. Yeah, sure, they haven't played a lot of good teams, but they did beat UCF. That's a good win.
They haven't faced a Power 5 team.
Georgia's also played some Power 5 teams. We haven't won those games. But our quarterback situation was pretty crappy, you have to admit. I'm not going to blame it all on the quarterback because we definitely had some bad play calling from our defense coordinator, Dan Lanning. Mm-hmm. And we've also lost a bunch of our star defensive players because of injuries. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have average of the count against Florida. Mm-hmm. So, yes, were they bad losses? Yes. Did we also have the odds not in our favor? Yes. Same thing with Clemson. Clemson had Trevor Lawrence out, and they had a lot of their defensive starters out and lost to Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. I would say if we could go back and play Florida again, maybe not Alabama, but if we could play Florida again with JT Daniels at starting quarterback, Richard LeCounte in, and Jordan Davison on defense, we would have won that game.
All right.
Because remember too, though, against Florida, DeJuan Mathis played the majority of that game because Stetson Bennett got hurt. And he's even worse than Stetson.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna just say this all out, and I just need you to listen. I'm gonna go off of strength of schedule. Okay. I'm just gonna name a few teams. All right. For Iowa State, we got West Virginia, winning record, pretty good team. Oklahoma State, Texas, Kansas State. That's 5 teams. Georgia, Alabama, Florida. Now you can argue for this coming weekend with Missouri.
I would even really argue it because, Missouri's barely ranked.
Yeah. And y'all struggled against Kentucky.
Again, with Stetson Bennett and missing starters on our defense.
So what I got to say is Iowa State has showed that their offense is lethal. Their running back. Breece Hall has taken storm. He has taken over the talks of Chuba Hubbard. He is now the eye candy of the running back position. Now, Georgia has JT Daniels, yes. But he can't carry a team. Like we were saying with Justin Fields. JT Daniels can be a great quarterback all he wants. But everything else on Georgia has not been adding up. The College Football Committee sees that. As the season goes on, yes, Georgia's winning. With great fashion, too. But they also see Iowa State, and they see that they're still building, and they're still going, and they're defeating teams with, wow. West Virginia was supposed to be a close game, and then they just got shut out. And, even South Carolina scored on y'all, you know? So, I think Georgia's a great team. Don't get me wrong. But Iowa State has to be ranked above them. Because just due to strength of schedule and strength of wins, Iowa State blows y'all out of the water. They had Oklahoma and beat them. Now, yeah, they lost to Louisiana for the first game of the season, which is disappointing. But they have shown that they've gotten stronger through the season. And Georgia, halfway through the season, finally got stronger. So
now I hear what you're saying, and I agree with pretty much everything. Their strength of schedule is better than ours. They won the games they needed to win, and they only have the 1 loss.
2 losses.
And they only have the 2 losses. Now, we also have 2 losses, but we don't have as many Power 5 wins. But if we were to put Iowa State up against Florida, Iowa State would not do as well. Or we can put them against, if we were to put Iowa State up against Florida or Texas A&M or Ohio State, we'll say about that far.
Honestly, you're naming some great matchups. I would really like those.
Yeah. But if we saw that with any of those 6 through 4 teams, because I'm not sure about Clemson, Notre Dame, or Alabama, Georgia would play better against any of those teams than Iowa State would. Now, that's just my opinion. You may not agree, but I think that we would beat those teams harder than Iowa State would.
My only problem with that statement is Iowa State has shown that they can defend the pass. They have defended against top offenses in college football.
So Richard the Count should be coming back in this week. Pretty sure Jordan Davis is too. Those are some of our best pass covers.
But you put Georgia against Sam Ehlinger, Rattler.
We also have to remember, we also have Azeez Ojulari, who's one of the number 1 in sacks in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good at strip fumbles, especially on quarterback sacks. I'm pretty sure he's had at least 3 or 4 this season already.
I don't know. I just think Iowa State just has a better look on themselves right now. I think Georgia's still cleaning off the dirt, a little bit of rust, and Iowa State.
We'll just have to disagree to disagree. Well, hold on.
Agree to disagree.
We'll just have to agree to disagree.
And I'm sure when it comes to the end of the season, it probably will be a Georgia versus Iowa State in the bowl game.
All right, so Getting out of that, let's head into the top 25 matchups. Number 1, Alabama versus unranked Arkansas. This is their last game of the regular season. What do you think?
Alabama.
100%. If Arkansas were to win this, I would cry. That'd be amazing, but it won't happen.
No, it won't happen.
So, all right, number 2, Notre Dame.
Bye week.
Number 3, Clemson.
Bye week.
Super excited to see them next weekend, though.
Yeah, 100%.
The ACC Championship.
Yeah.
Number 4, Ohio State versus unranked Michigan has been
Canceled.
And this is Ohio State's last game of the regular season. We will see them next weekend against Northwestern in the Big Ten Championship.
Yeah. Most likely their last game of the regular season, unless they reschedule to a different team for this weekend. For updates on that, go check out our Instagram.
Number 5, Texas A&M versus unranked Ole Miss.
Postponed.
This was a matchup I was so excited about. I thought that
Honestly,
if
yes.
any unranked team could beat Texas A&M, it was going to be Ole Miss. Corral and his offense is lethal with Lane Kiffin, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Especially the way they played against Alabama. I mean, look, dude, Ole Miss played better against Alabama than Texas A&M did.
Yeah, I think
maybe not in like the fourth quarter, but the first 3 quarters, passing yards were insane.
Oh, yeah. I think the way that Texas A&M faced off against LSU really showed that they have a bunch of weaknesses.
And Auburn. They were losing at one point.
Yeah, which I called.
I was wrong. It was closer than I thought it was going to be.
But, so, I mean, it shows that they have a bunch of weaknesses. Something's not adding up anymore for Jimbo Fisher. And I think it would have been a really good game. But it is postponed, so.
Number 6, Florida versus unranked LSU.
Yeah, so this is a matchup that was supposed to be week 2. Supposed to bring LSU back up from their disappointing loss against Mississippi State, but of course got rescheduled. I'm picking Florida here.
Yeah, Florida definitely. I mean, would it be nice to see LSU come out and win? Maybe, but actually no, because we need Florida to do really, really well against Alabama.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I will never root for LSU.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame you because of last year, but...
It's not even just last year, but it's mostly because of last year.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely picking Florida, and this is Florida's last game of the regular season. So they play Alabama next weekend in the SEC Championship in Atlanta. Super excited about that one, and I'm only going to say this once this season, but go freaking Gators.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Florida goes from this game to Alabama.
Absolutely. All right, Iowa State.
Bye week.
Number 8, Cincinnati versus Tulsa has been canceled.
It's canceled because they face off next weekend.
Yeah. So, and that was their last game of the regular season. So.
Yeah.
All right. Number 9, Georgia versus number 25, Missouri. If Georgia were to lose this game, I would probably gouge my eyes out. There's no way that Missouri takes this. I'm going with Georgia.
I'm kind of interested in this game. I mean, Missouri has lost every big game that they've had. But they can throw the ball. Georgia, they're getting all their people back though for this game, I believe. So
yeah, should be.
Yeah, so I think Georgia will win this. It would be cool to see Missouri win, but Georgia won this.
All right, number 11, Oklahoma versus unranked West Virginia. I'm definitely going with Oklahoma on this one. I mean, West Virginia just had that bad loss last week to Iowa State, and Oklahoma looked pretty good against Baylor. Although I will say that game was pretty close up until like the very end when Oklahoma got like a 2-touchdown lead. But it was a bigger game than we thought.
I think that this is another game that was rescheduled from earlier in the season. I think Oklahoma wins this. Before, if you asked me a few weeks ago, I would have said West Virginia, but Oklahoma wins this one from where they're at now. Number 12, Indiana versus unranked Purdue is unfortunately canceled.
It was the last game of the regular season too, so I mean they're both done.
Big win from Indiana though last weekend. Defensive game for sure. Coastal Carolina versus Troy. Last game of the regular season for the Chanticleers.
Dude, Coastal all the way. They gotta go undefeated whole season undefeated.
Yeah, I'm picking Coastal here. Troy could be a trap game, but Coastal better win this.
Absolutely. All right.
All right, number 14 Northwestern versus unranked Illinois. Illinois put up a good fight against Iowa till the second half. Northwestern wins this.
Yeah, I'm with Northwestern all the way.
Number 15 USC versus unranked UCLA.
So it looks like Joey was correct in last week picking USC. I don't think he really wanted to, but I think he's glad that he did.
Yeah, I'm picking UCLA this game.
I'm still picking USC 4-0. USC's 4-0. I'm picking USC.
Now, granted, Oregon is not as good as a team as they started out to be, but UCLA put up a good fight against Oregon, so I think they can handle USC.
Yeah, we'll have to see. This is also their last game of the regular season.
Yeah, which is insane.
So, number 16, Iowa versus unranked Wisconsin.
Wisconsin had a terrible game against Indiana's defense.
They've just been so bad this season.
They started off incredible.
Yeah,
Their quarterback was amazing, and then all of a sudden,
they just crapped
it just blew up.
I know. So, yeah, I'm definitely picking Iowa.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Iowa. They had a rough start against Illinois, but I'm picking Iowa.
So, number 18, BYU versus unranked San Diego State. BYU coming off that loss against the Chanticleers last week, but I still think that BYU takes this one.
BYU.
Definitely. And this is the last game of the regular season.
Yeah.
So, all right, number 19, Louisiana.
Bye week.
Number 20, Texas versus unranked Kansas. Oh, my. Dude, okay, this is so funny because Kansas is literally 0-9.
I mean, Kansas
this is a postponed game.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas has always been a bad football team.
Yeah.
Les Miles makes it a little less bad, but he's not coaching currently, so Texas.
Yeah, definitely Texas. Their last game of the regular season as well. Yeah, we will not see Texas next week.
No, they were
in the Big 12 championship.
They were supposed to be favored for the Big 12, but I guess this just wasn't their season.
Oklahoma's looking for that rematch, but I'm still picking Iowa.
I'm still picking Iowa State there. 21 Colorado versus unranked Utah. Jake Bentley. He's
so bad.
He's worse than he was at South Carolina. Yeah. Dude, when I saw him play against Oregon State, I really was thinking to myself, dang, like, he was actually pretty good at South Carolina. Like, seeing how he plays now. Dude, he also needs to shave.
Facts.
Like, his little pedo stash isn't good.
Have you noticed that pretty much every white quarterback on the West Coast, whether they're in the Pac-12, Mountain, or whatever, they all have mustaches?
Yeah, I think Gardner Minshew started that, and it's kind of just like became a thing.
I know, dude. Because Jake Bentley has one, and then the quarterback at Washington had one, and then JT Daniels, when he came over here, he had one.
That's terrible.
So, all right. But yeah, definitely picking. You know what? I am going to go with the upset on this one. I'm going with Utah.
No, I'm picking Colorado.
I'm going with Utah. So, and this is Colorado's last game of the regular season. Number 22, Oklahoma State versus unranked Baylor.
How are they still ranked?
I have no clue at this point, but I'm going with Baylor. I think they put up a really good fight against Oklahoma last week, and I think they're going to beat one Oklahoma team this year, and I think it's going to be Oklahoma State. I'm going with Baylor.
This is hard. Oklahoma State not playing how they used to. Coming off of a tough loss against TCU. Coming off of 3 tough losses. I mean, understandable losses. Oklahoma, I believe Iowa State, and TCU. But I just can't. I can't pick Baylor because Baylor, although put up a decent fight against Oklahoma, I feel like Oklahoma State's offense has finally woken up. Their defense came back, so I think Oklahoma State wins this. I don't think I've picked an upset yet. No, I did. I picked UCLA.
Exactly. All right. So, number 3, NC State.
Bye week.
All right, so that concludes our top 25 picks. We're about to move on to the NFL. Let's go link up with Michael.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the NFL real quick. Michael, how are you doing today?
Doing as best I can, given how bad the Falcons played on Sunday.
I got you. Well, speaking of the Falcons, let's let's go ahead and get into the Falcons versus the Saints game. Let's go over a little review.
Well, it was disappointing as usual because Falcons fans, we get our hopes up and we always get crushed. The game started flat, just like the last one. They really didn't progress. I mean, receivers were dropping open passes. The offensive line held up, not 8 sacks this game, which was great. But I've been saying this ever since I started talking with y'all about football, about NFL. Is like, the Falcons' problems is coaching. It all comes down to coaching. This game was another great example of how we need to clean house. We need to get rid of these coaches, especially Dirk Cutter. Definitely Raheem Morris now, for sure. Definitely Raheem Morris now. They just don't seem to learn from their mistakes. And when they do, it's like, it doesn't really matter because, the season's lost anyway. But, like, all you want to do is beat your rival. Saints are the rival. We hate the Saints. The Saints hate us. And, Raheem Morris really had 2 chances to show us, like, hey, like, I could be the head coach of this team next year. And really, his 2 I guess tests would have been to, like, come out of the bye week, beat the Saints in their own house, and then do it again at home. And those 2 losses were really, really embarrassing, man. But the bad part is like they came back. They didn't come back. They got really lucky. Like, the Saints defense had a lot of penalties on this drive in the second half that could have led to the Falcons taking the lead. But, we got down to the 12-yard line. And Dirk Cutter again wants to. I mean, I don't want to blame him, but I want to blame him because, like, I understand why he called, a run play on 3rd and goal. You only needed 2 yards. Oh, no, yeah, it was like 3rd and 2. You only needed 2 yards at the 12-yard line, and just thinking about it pisses me off because it was like he called this run play. And Todd Gurley just runs back 9 yards because he tries to bounce it outside, and that put us in 4th and 9. And it's just like, bro, like that lost us the game. But, like, what got us there, got us to that point, was, like, the passing game. So, like, to go from that to running the ball, trying to be conservative, just pissed me off. It was just very upsetting because then it went from, you don't ever run backwards. You don't run backwards.
Mm-hmm.
You run forwards.
And we talked about this last episode for our college segment for a little bit, but yeah, what do you think was different for Atlanta between what was the difference between this game and the Raiders game? Like, was it Atlanta themselves, or what is it? Just the Saints defense is better than the Raiders defense?
Saints defense is 10 times better than the Raiders defense. Saints defense is the number 1 run defense in the NFL. The Saints have good cornerbacks, but this specific drive, the cornerbacks were the ones that gave us hope because they kept getting pass interference and, holding calls and stuff. And it was just like, they like to grab onto these receivers. I mean, the Raiders defense is nowhere near what the Saints defense is. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely the opponent difference in last week and this week was, big difference, really big difference there.
And the offense too, like, the differences between the offenses between the 2 teams as well, or is that just...
Sean Payton, as much as I hate Sean Payton and I want to punch him in the mouth, he is a good offensive head coach,
mm-hmm.
a good offensive mind, and he outplayed us, man. He called some good plays. I mean, it sucks for us because it's like this is Taysom Hill's 3rd career start, and we should be able to, rattle him. And,
mm-hmm.
He got his first ever career passing touchdown against us. And
I mean,
that's what happens when you play the Falcons.
It's the backup's backup, and he still beat y'all twice.
It's upsetting. It's really upsetting. But, I mean,
it really is.
We had a chance to win it at the end. Todd Gurley didn't lose us the game, but he kind of did lose us the game. It's just I watched the replay of the game, and it got to that part, and I was just like, man, just run forward, make it a 4th and 2. Don't make it a 4th and 9. 4th and 2 is way more manageable than 4th and 9. Sad. It's very sad. But then we got the Chargers this week, and the Chargers are the AFC Falcons because they lose in spectacular ways like us. So I'm pretty sure that game will be one to watch. I'm sad that I'm actually going to miss it, but it should be a good game.
Speaking of games upsetting people, How about that Washington versus Pittsburgh game?
Loved every second of it.
Me too.
Loved every second of it. I Pittsburgh people might hate me for this, but y'all were so fraudulent, undefeated team. I'm glad it happened to the team with no name.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh didn't really face any real tough opponents. The only time they faced Baltimore, I think, too, was without Lamar Jackson. Or did they face them with Lamar?
They faced them earlier.
Okay, they faced them earlier.
Out by the refs. They got bailed out with the refs. And then this game, the game before the Washington game, they played like the practice squad because half the team was like on the COVID list.
Yeah.
But my thing is those Pittsburgh fans wanted to like blame it on like the days to prepare. And I tweeted this out. I was like, don't blame the loss on like Washington had 12 days to prepare and we had 5 days to prepare. It's like, nah, dude, like this is the pros. Like these are the pros.
Yeah, this is like that's part of it, you know.
This is pro football. Like and on a regular schedule, you have 6 days to prepare, I'm assuming, because the game's on Sunday. So you have 6 days to prepare for the next game. What's one less game, man? It's like, and plus you're undefeated. So I'm pretty sure the coaches know how to run this team well.
Yeah, Mike Tomlinson is an incredible coach.
Yeah, he's great. Like I have mad respect for him, but like, don't blame that loss on days to prepare, man. You had 5 days. Like you were definitely well rested. Like this is the pros. Like I ain't blaming it on that. Like they had 5 chances to score at the goal line. Like they had 5 chances and you couldn't get a yard. If you can't get Mike Tomlin said this, I'll quote him. He was saying that if you can't get 1 yard when you need 1 yard, you don't deserve to win.
Yeah.
So he's right.
So
Chase Young is a baller.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so had that big goal line stop.
Heck yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and head into our picks for the week. Go ahead and head up with the games.
All right, so first up is Thursday. We got a rematch of the Super Bowl 52. All right, so Patriots-Rams, rematch of the Super Bowl. It's in L.A., but I guess home field advantage really doesn't exist when you don't have fans in the stands, so that's like whatever. It should be a good game. The Rams defense is great. The Patriots defense just blew out the Chargers like 45-0.
Yep.
In that exact same stadium because the Rams and Chargers share a stadium. That is going to be a tough game. I'm sure it'll be closer than people think, but I think the Rams will come out on top because the Rams have a better offense, their defense, but you are playing against Bill Belichick. So,
I mean, they're playing against Bill Belichick, but and Cam Newton, but Cam Newton has nobody to throw to. He's got Whitehead as his running back. I think Rams win this with a pretty convincing win.
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams too. I think Jared Goff is a really good quarterback, and he's going to throw. It's going to be passing, and yeah, the Rams are going to win.
Now, I wouldn't go as far as saying Jared Goff is a really good quarterback, but he's a good quarterback.
I would take him over Cam Newton any day. Just saying. This next game will probably be – it could be upset territory. It's Vikings and Bucks. And the Vikings are they're like 6th in the league, I believe, in rushing. Tampa Bay has allowed the fewest rush yards per game this season.
Granted, Minnesota has one of the best wide receivers in the league right now.
100%. Justin Jefferson is a baller. And Adam Thielen's a good,
and Adam Thielen. Yeah.
I don't know who I'm going to pick with this one. Mason, who you think's going to win this one, Mason?
I'm going to go with the Vikings because I don't like Tom Brady. I've been pulling against Tom Brady all season. My roommate is a huge Bucks fan, but only because of Tom Brady. So he basically became a Bucks fan when Tom Brady left the Patriots. So he's really just a Tom Brady fan. So I was pulling against it every single game. I actually pulled for the Saints. I pulled for the Saints over the Bucks.
So I didn't, but I understand why.
So yeah, definitely. I just think the Vikings are the better team. So I think the Bucks are still getting their stuff together. I think it's a rebuilding year for them, even though they have Tom Brady. So
Yeah. I'm gonna. Yeah, go ahead, Joey.
I don't think the Vikings have a good enough defense to go up against Tom Brady, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Gronkowski, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. I think the Buccaneers have a better defense compared to the Vikings. I think, granted, their cornerbacks aren't as talented to cover Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph. But I think the Buccaneers come out of this with a win.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna say the Vikings. I'm gonna go with the Vikings just because the Vikings have like woken up all of a sudden and they're playing good ball. I think it'll be close for sure. I think it'll be a very tough game. But I'm gonna go with the upset and say the Vikings are gonna upset them, and it's gonna be hilarious to watch. Next game is your team, Joey. It's Panthers versus Broncos. So I'll let you take this one first.
This is going to be sad. So Christian McCaffrey is supposed to be out for this game. They haven't come out with an announcement saying otherwise. They have 8 inactives due to COVID, including Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. Unfortunate, but Broncos are missing out on their quarterback. That's really hard, actually, now thinking about it. I think Broncos are actually going to beat my team, unfortunately. 8 inactives due to COVID and Christian McCaffrey being out. It's just too much. I mean, the defense could step up, but we have nobody on offense except for Teddy B, so.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Broncos to win. And when you have that many people missing, especially your number one weapon, Christian McCaffrey, is probably going to be tough. But, I mean,
we're missing our number 1, 2, and 3 weapon.
Yeah, like that's insane. No, but the Broncos, Broncos aren't a consistent team. I mean, they did play Chiefs close last weekend, but yeah, I picked the Broncos to win.
The Broncos.
So we got next one is Chiefs and Dolphins. 11-1 versus 8-4. It should be a good game. It's hard to bet against the Chiefs. I'm gonna go Chiefs win, but it's not gonna be easy. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a 2-touchdown game. Like I think they'll win, but it'll be close. I think the Dolphins will make it a game.
Well, everyone who listens to the podcast knows that I like to pick the upsets, so I'm gonna pick Tua and the Dolphins.
This one's hard for me. I mean, Miami has a lot of Clemson players on their defense. Not so much on their offense, but a lot on their defense. But the Chiefs, I mean, a few years ago, they didn't have a defense whatsoever. They were mainly offense. That's why they couldn't make it to the Super Bowl. And all of a sudden this year, they have a defense and an offense.
And a special teams.
And a special teams. Meanwhile, the Dolphins are still trying to figure some things out. They're great. They're a good team, but they're not great yet. I think the Chiefs win this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Dolphins... They're on the right path. I don't think this is like, the win it all type of year, but 8-4 when no one expected that, that's a good thing.
I mean, look, if they make the playoffs, I think that's good enough for Miami fans.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Texans Bears. Who do you think wins this one? I'm gonna pick the Texans, honestly, because Deshaun Watson really upset last week after losing to the Colts, man. He's crying on the sidelines. So I think he's pissed.
Yeah, he was upset. He felt like he lost that game with that fumble. Last chance for the Texans to win that game. I think Texans win it, dude, just because of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I was going to say
Bears do got a good defense, though. Bears do got a good defense.
I mean, but I'd say Texans still win because of Deshaun Watson.
That is true. Texans don't have an offensive line to protect Deshaun, and the Bears have Khalil Mack, and honestly, just a great defensive line, but I think Deshaun is going to put this team on his back.
Yeah, Texans are going to win. They'll figure out a way to do it. Okay. And as much as I want to pick against the Saints, unfortunately, I think the Saints are going to win against the Eagles. But the Eagles are starting Jalen Hurts now.
Eagles are starting Jalen Hurts over Carson Wentz. Big shot in the NFL.
First NFL start.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick the Saints though. Unfortunately, I hate the Saints, but it's hard to. I mean, it might be a good game. Might be a good game. I mean, the Eagles are bad, but Jalen Hurts is, he came in during the Packers game and did some things. So,
I mean, this game I think really determines if the Eagles are still in it for the playoffs, or the Giants clinch it. So, I think the Eagles are going to go out there and play a tough game, but I mean, are the Saints going to put out?
You're going against the Saints with a good offense, which is somehow still good with Taysom Hill at quarterback.
Now, are the Saints going to put in their backups in order to preserve their starters? There's all those what ifs and all that. But
I doubt that will happen. It's still a little early.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pick the Saints.
Mason?
I'm going to pick the Eagles. I'm going to go with my boy Jalen.
I mean, I like that pick. It's just, yeah.
That'd be great. It'd be great if, it was like a shootout. That'd be awesome. All right. Mm-hmm. So we got the football team versus the 49ers, 5-7 versus 5-7. The football team is obviously riding the high from being the undefeated Steelers.
I'm picking Ron Rivera.
I'm going football team as well.
I'm going football team.
I'm going Ron Rivera. With the story behind Ron Rivera, Alex Smith, I mean,
big time. Alex Smith, that's an incredible story with him, man.
Amazing story.
NFC North matchup, Packers and Lions. 9-3 versus 5-7.
This is always a great game, though.
It is, and I'm picking the Lions to upset.
Yeah, same here.
The Lions. I'm going Lions upset.
I'm going with my Georgia boys.
This is a big game because, I mean, the one game that flashes back in my mind is that Hail Mary play.
Yeah. These teams always play each other tough, man. It's they're usually always a good one.
I think
this game, I don't think it really. Well, I think the Packers are trying to go for the number 1 seed, I believe.
Possibly.
Obviously, they have to win. They got to win to try and get number 1. So, of course, they're trying to get there. But I'm picking the Lions to upset because these games are always close.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Packers. I'm gonna go against y'all.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick I'm picking the Lions because of Matthew Stafford and
quarterback
and Swift.
One thing that is sad though is Kenny Galladay. I don't think he's gonna play, which is really bad because I need him A for fantasy and I need him and B to help upset the Packers. But we'll see.
A.
So this is probably the best game of the week is the Sunday Night Football game, Steelers and Bills. The Bills are playing good football, and the Steelers obviously just lost their first game, so they're probably pissed. It's in Buffalo. It's going to be a good game because the Bills offense is really good with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. But the Steelers, Cole
Beasley out.
Cole Beasley's balling.
Yeah.
He's balling out.
Singletary as well.
I think that, and then with the Steelers, the Steelers obviously have, good defense and a good offense. They got TJ Watt on defense, and then the Steelers' offense, they got all these wide receivers all of a sudden that are really good.
Yeah.
I mean, Juju's been good, but Washington and Claypool and Johnson, they came out this year. So it's going to be, I think it'll be a very even match game, to be honest with you. But I want to go upset and go with the Bills, but I'm picking the Steelers, man. As much as I don't want to, I'm picking the Steelers.
I'm going the Bills.
Steelers.
Steelers.
I think it's going to be a close game, though. I think it'll come. Yeah. I think it'll be like a touchdown difference. It'll be something like that, like a field goal difference. Or it could be a very defensive game because the Bills also have a good defense as well. Mm-hmm. They have one of the best defenses in the league. Yeah.
And Pittsburgh's they're allowing 17.6 points per game this season, which is also the fewest in the NFL. So, it's going to be – these are two evenly matched teams in my opinion. And that is all of Week 14.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. It was good hearing from you this week.
Sure.
Looking forward to the awards show next week as well. Seeing you there.
Be sure you guys vote if you haven't voted yet. Be sure you vote.
Yes, thank
Love
you,
hearing
Michael.
that.
All right, sweet, Michael. We will definitely see you next week. And that concludes this episode of TBD SportsCast. Thank you so much for listening.
Make sure to go follow us on Instagram at TBD_SportsCast.
And don't forget, the next Friday at 7:30, we'll be having our TBD SportsCast College Football Awards Show live on Facebook and YouTube.
It makes me so sad. I'm so proud. Make sure to go vote. Hit that link in the Instagram bio. Voting closes Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Joey.
And I'm Mason.
And this is TBD SportsCast. Bye-bye.
Later.